Let's talk about competitive league, where a certain Counter Logic gaming team released a really dumb video. Have you guys?
I haven't seen this.
You haven't seen it?
No.
It's the general manager telling the players he loves them. They're like brothers. Since they went 0-3 instead of since they went 1-2 instead of 3-0, it's going to be the last time their roster of 5 plays together. And the players are obviously like pretty shaken up about that, like learning about that news for the first time in that video.
And the craziest part about it all is like in the lower third, every like 20 seconds, Colton, a fucking Bud Light ad like appears.
Yeah.
It's like, this is your Bud Light cool off moment.
Yeah.
Wait, oh god, okay, I'm gonna.
Because it's
I need
like
to watch
sponsored
this right
content
now.
or whatever. Like it's been removed, but you can probably find like a re-upload. I'm sure someone
You
in
can,
Discord's
for
like
sure.
posted.
Yeah,
but
I think I found it.
Someone's also posted on Twitter again.
because like I think it's cool. I think very many, like a lot of people like seeing behind the scenes stuff. Like it is very cool as an outsider being able to see like what a team meeting is like, right?
Yeah.
First of all, there are problems with talking to your team like that on camera after losing because they're all just like sad because they like fucking lost a game.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, there's some merit for it. Like I think TSM, like it's not even remotely close out of TSM's wheelhouse to post a video of like whatever their series is called now, of like them being like, oh, we just lost, guys, like we're looking into roster changes. I don't think that's that big of an issue, right? I think there's like maybe like issues with like CLG's branding of kind of always being like this family comes first like team brand or whatever.
Yeah.
And then having that, but like I mean, I don't think anyone would bat an eye if TSM did that, for example. The issue is that it's fucking Bud Light sponsored content. It's just so fucking weird.
I do think that's the weirdest part of it. I don't know. It's certainly like out of place and probably shouldn't have been posted. But I think this is something that happens with most LCS teams like all the time. I went back like 100 Thieves' handling of the media situation the first time.
Yeah.
Cloud9 uploaded a very similar video with the initial benching of Sneaky and Jensen.
Yeah.
And then anytime TSM interacts with another team / the Lena situation,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. The LCS as a I guess like brand is sort of just like really unprofessional, and it kind of shows, I think.
I mean, the reality is like there's a lot of young people who don't have worldly experience in these roles, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, of course.
And it very much shows in things like this, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that at least I hope that in like a sports league you wouldn't like fucking be like, oh, this is our whatever sponsored thing. You're getting benched, homie. Like,
No, and like going back to what you're saying, like these are very inexperienced like professional business people.
Yeah.
The general manager who said that is an ex Super Smash Bros. Like manager.
He's Mango's coach, yeah.
Yeah. So like definitely not the person that you would expect to handle things with the tact required sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think people are making such a big deal out of.
I also like don't think it's
whatever.
anyone individual's like fault, right? Like it's not Tafo's fault. I'm sure that someone came to him and been like, "Hey, we need to put out a fucking content piece.
Yeah.
Go talk to the boys. We're gonna record."
Yeah.
Yeah, or even like maybe they were filming it like not unknowingly, but like they were there filming while he was having this chat with like no indication to him that this was going to be their Bud Light sponsored content.
Yeah.
Oh
Right,
no,
they're like,
I'm
yeah,
sure they
we're just-
film. I'm sure they just film after every single game and pick and choose what to upload. It was just that's a wild thing to select.
When I saw the way you titled it in like our show notes,
Yeah.
just like DeMonte cooling off with a refreshing Bud Light #ad.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is it gonna be like, ah shit boys, we got 3-0'd this week. Let's all enjoy a Bud Light and like really like cheesy sponsored content where it's like, you ever have a bad day in solo queue? Cool off with a Bud Light.
No,
I don't know. That would be funny, but
It was
that would've been
sponsored by
funny,
Bud
yeah.
Light, and then because Pobelter got benched, right? And they picked up DeMonte to replace him. That's the news, by the way. DeMonte's
Good.
CLG's new bid, which is probably a huge improvement, by the way.
Absolutely.
Pobelter tweeted out, just got Bud Light TM aced, and he's holding the Bud Light, giving a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
Just funny as fuck.
Way to be a good sport, Poe Belter.
Yeah. That's
Hey,
good.
you can say what you can about his gameplay, but I'm a Poe Belter fan.
Yeah.
fair enough.
But I was not expecting that video to be the. Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
man.
it's super weird. I definitely think that they handled it not properly, but I also think that there's definitely way more people taking issue with it than like other orgs would have for it, I guess. But you could argue that's how CLG's built up their like fan base and stuff. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I think like maybe this is just an outsider looking in, but I think people do like to shit on CLG a lot. But yeah, I couldn't see this going that way with like I couldn't see a TSM disappreciation thread, or like this team should be relegated, like management should be forced to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine like if TSM had like one of their upper level management talking about private contract issues while somebody in the room was streaming.
No,
Hey,
but like,
and also
there's no way anyone would make a fuss about that.
hey, don't forget that one time that Doublelift was on Team Liquid, shot the bed and basically tanked for a split, and then got traded to his girlfriend's team. After a week, quote, a week of being on the market.
yeah, I don't know. There's like tons of issues with like the scene.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also think just like I don't know. I guess it's not like super relevant, but like a lot of people are like talking about CLG should be forced to sell. The whole point of Riot having those issues, like, so Riot has in their clause for LCS franchise teams that if you underperform like bottom of the pack or whatever for X number of splits, right, we have the right to ask other teams and get our opinion on if we like want you to sell. Like we can kind of force you to sell if you're underperforming and not putting money into it into the scene or whatever, right? And why are people complaining about CLG, man? CLG like is one of the only bottom teams that actually is investing money into the scene. Like
Yeah, and like
FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, like these teams put like obviously Golden Guardians had like issues with like their funding and stuff like that. But the reason why these teams aren't putting money into the scene is because they're not making money. If Golden Guardians was making buku bucks from League of Legends, they would be buying good players. You know what I mean? If FlyQuest is making crazy money from the scene, they'd be like putting way more money into the scene. CLG, obviously in the same situation as FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, they still got Broxa, who was probably an expensive purchase. They still got Finn, who was probably an expensive purchase. They're still trying to make their roster better, and I feel like, I don't know, shitting on them for this is crazy. They're like one of the only like bottom teams that's actually trying to make their roster better.
Yeah, and I was gonna jump in on that where it's like it's a good clause to have that available, but the point is that we don't want we don't want these big companies to buy a spot in the LCS to use it as a sponsorship vector and not try and contribute to the league. Like, we don't want Golden Guardians to be able to, like, put their brand on it, throw in 5 random plat players and be like, lol, our overhead is $10, but we're getting all of this, like, free advertising. And obviously, it's more complicated, but, like, hey, is the team making a good faith effort to improve and be competitive? Yes. Like, hey, if being the number one team or like an internationally competitive team was easy, then we'd be doing it more often.
Yeah.
But it's fucking hard to be a team that can beat the Liquids or the TSMs or the C9s of the world. Like, it is, these are the best of the best in North America. So even if you are coming in like 7th or 8th consistently, like you're still trying. And I think you made a really good point where it's like, if they're going to be investing these huge dollar amounts to get the staff and the infrastructure and the players, there needs to be some kind of return.
Yeah.
There's no reason for Golden Guardians or, CLG or any team that's finishing like bot 4 to pump $20 million into new players and coaches and so on if they're going to make $10 million for, getting first place, or even it's like, cool, we can go from 10th to 5th.
Yeah.
But, we're not breaking the top 3 without putting 100 million in there.
Yeah,
and so they're like, why would I do it?
I also do want to make one more point about like the whole like getting rid of teams and franchising. A lot of people have this notion that removing a CLG, a team that has been underperforming for many years, would make the franchise league better. It would not, though, from my understanding, right? If you remove a league, you decrease the value of the league, right? Why would another team want to take this spot of this team that is being ousted of their position, right? Like, that just, like, screams, like, financial, like, insecurity, right? Like, if the fact that you can spend $20 million or whatever buying a spot, and then a couple of years later they go, hey, we're making you sell, goodbye. Like, that's bad for the league. Right, never wants to implement
it degrades the faith. It degrades the faith people have, and like that these big sponsors and big spenders would have, buying or funding a team, right? Where it's like, okay, if I'm putting all of this effort into getting a slot, like I want to know that that's going to be some kind of long-term return, and not that, if I put all this money in and let's say buy like a 10-year slot. If we don't do good in the first 3 years while we're still building up and like trying to find the players and the staff, they might just try and kick us the hell out. Which that's kind of wild. And I mean, so there's the faith that investors are going to have would be degraded by them being kicked out or pressured to sold. And then like, does anyone think that that's actually going to make like the LCS, like the NALCS, a more competitive region? Like, whatever team you get to replace them, what's going to happen? They're probably going to get 3 of those players who were in the old CLG, 2 random no names, and they're going to go 12th. Like, I mean, hey, maybe they pull off the the glory rise from the bottom like upset, but they're probably going to be like a 10th place team who's not great, and it's like, wow, you replaced one bad team with name recognition and long-term players with another team that is still doing nothing for the league.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's like a mess. I definitely think CLG fucked that up. I think it's hard not to say that, but I definitely think they're getting flamed a little bit more than they probably should. I don't think it's anyone's at fault. Like, don't flame Tafo, don't flame the players, like, don't really flame the org.
They were just sticking to their brand and countering logic in terms of their content release.
No, I think there's definitely some issues there, but like nothing that's too crazy by any means. Definitely, we're not ousting them out of the league for that, I don't think.
So. No.
Cool.
Awesome.